Hey, it's me, Hrishikesh, Kannan, popularly known as HrishiKay. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon now to get the latest videos and get taken into a world of entertainment, culture, sport, business, and current affairs.
Even the limp one, if you see the second run, is a little more because of the kind of bruises she ends up having, in the way. So it was not like hum ek hi run ko we can't just cut copy paste in the 3 runs. So that kind of was all that detailing. Though I'm glad that we noticed it, so it feels like the hard work was worth it. But doing it there was like, oh God, I can't believe I have to do the same stretch, same running in 3 different emotions. So that also was something that Aakash had conceived, and we had proper discussions about it before we went to film it.
Super stuff. Now, I was trying to think of how to frame this question, but the only way I can describe it is in Hindi, because there's certain things in Devanagari and that can only be described in Hindi. That harami smile of yours, Tahir Raj Bhasin.
Haramix smile.
Yeah, haramix and harami smile. I mean, dude, it's not like what I saw in Ranjish. It's not like what I saw in Ye Kali Kali Aankhein. It said, there's no other way to describe it. It's a harami smile. So, did you have to work on that? I mean, like she had to consciously say that, I've got to keep my concentration on that so that it doesn't look as though it's Looop Lapeta out. So that smile.
Yeah. I definitely had to work on that, because in the reading of the script, when the line says porn star ka hero jab smile karne ki koshish karta hai to wo aisa lagta hai. What I was really worried about is that after this film releases, any picture I put up anywhere, the comments will always be porn star ka hero jab smile karne ki koshish karta hai. So the conscious effort was, how do I sort of keep a part of myself in Satya, but also make him so different that no one relates it to that. And also there are 3 different smiles. So how do you differentiate those? And I think it was also amazing writing. The fact that this guy's smile just says what kind of mood he's in, and the audience can sort of preempt what he's going to do based on how he's smiling. And yeah, lots of fun to work on and chalk out.
Tahir Raj Bhasin, Taapsee Pannu, Aakash, great to see you guys. And I have to deliver that line on a camera and on mic, saying TRB is like Govinda from the 90s, a release every alternate week. I think this is the 4th time I've met you in the last month. That is even prolific by Taapsee standards.
And like I said, when you mentioned that off camera, I have learned from the best. When Taapsee is by my side, the only thing I do is ask questions about how to handle multiple releases, and I plan to implement that in 2022.
She will also tell you.
I'm able to space it out, guys. I'm able to space the releases out a little better.
She will also tell you how to handle, like she handles her leading men, how to handle your leading ladies.
Yes.
Guys, it's a lot of fun. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. I can't stop talking about the fun element, but I'm going to start by switching on the bit of the engineer that we have in the house, which is Taapsee. You know what they say about the chaos theory and the butterfly effect? They say that, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, it leads to a tornado in Texas. And in that aspect, even the original material, Run Lola Run and Looop Lapeta, which is your fantastic adaptation, really talk about that, don't they? It is fascinating. And that must have really appealed to you.
See, that was one of the 100 other elements that got my attention, and being the reason behind me saying yes when I actually went into the narration room wanting to say no. Because I had just come out of a film called Game Over, and I was like, okay, I don't want to get into something which is even remotely close. And this is classic. Why do I want to touch it right now only to get big bats, for something or the other? But then it was just so good, and it was so detailed, and it was so nuanced, and everything had a reason to exist. The idea of choice and going this way or that, one small thing changes and everything ripple effect. The way it has been executed in the film, it is just, your mind is so engaged the entire time that even though the same thing is happening multiple times, it is yet different. So that's the beauty of writing and the screenplay and and conceiving it, which blew my mind away. So I had to like jump and say yes immediately before I left the narration room that day.
Tahir, he's a bit of a loser in a lot of ways. He's addictive. He has a gambling habit. But what you've got to admire about him is his undying love for this girl. Because when things go south, or when his shit hits the roof, the only person he thinks of again and again is this wonderful girl. And this must be such a fabulous part for you to sink your teeth in, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dysfunctional guy. Dysfunctional is the word.
Dysfunctional yet lovable. I had this quote on my wall, which was "part-time lover, full-time jholer." Is how I describe Satya, and it was incredible because we were very aware that we were adapting a classic, and for me, one of the things that popped out in the adaptation is the love dynamic between Satya and Savi, which has been amped up for an Indian audience. And yeah, you're right. He was just such a part of contrast. Like, he was intensely. He wasn't written for laughs. It's just who he is. He believes in all sincerity of what he's doing is the only way to go about things, and he just wears his heart on his sleeve. And I think that was the most fun aspect of his vulnerability to play that. Like when he's calling Savi to say "Mujhe bacha le," he means it. She is his first and last lifeline.
And addictive personalities are like that. I mean, if you're addicted to gambling, somebody gives you a bag full of money, you want to go and double it. It's like somebody, people who are addicted to smoking. You give them a pack of cigarettes, they'll want to go and smoke it. So I think
and they'll always tell you
well.
that this is the last one. They'll always say that this is the last one. So I love the conversations. I think there are bits of it in the trailer as well, where Taapsee's character says, "When will you stop going to the casino?" And he insists that it's not a casino because he believes that that's not gambling, and that's what made him so. Also very different from anything I've done in the past, which makes it very exciting.
Lovely. Akash, I'll make sure that I release this on the day of release, perhaps, so that there are no spoilers. Sure. To me, the touche moment was Taapsee coming out of the casino and banging into what is obviously Franka Potente. Unbelievable. You deserve an award just for that, you and your writing team. That is cinematic masterpiece. I mean, you can have adaptations and you can have people arguing, saying how different is it, but that, my friend, is a masterpiece. When did that happen? Was that in the original script?
No. So, I mean, I was pretty aware that we are making a film that's already been made, right? And all of this conversation around Indians only make remakes and all. I mean, I was also averse to the idea of a remake, but we wanted to keep the material really, really original to what we were doing, and somewhere in the mix of that, there was an idea that I had where we wanted to give a homage moment in the true sense, and anybody who's watched the original should get a kick out of that moment, and that's that joy that we felt when we came across this idea. We thought, okay, what if this happens? We thought we just film it and put it in the film, man, and that's how it rolled. I mean, we ran it by Taapsee Tahir. They were also equally excited, and anybody else who heard it in the team, they were all very excited by that. So we thought, let's go with it. Somebody gets it, they'll get it, and somebody that won't get it, they won't know what they've not got. So that was a fun thing that we thought.
Dude, now this is the advantage of it not having a cinematic release. I paused, I rewound, and I played that moment again. I was like, dude, this is it. It's fantastic. So Taapsee, you started running in Rashmi Rocket and you're still running. Your form is fantastic. I have to say that.
Thank you.
Running form. But literally a girl who runs for her man. She turns around and says, "My loser boyfriend, my this, that," but she runs for it. And again, at the heart of it, this is a love story, isn't it? So the love aspect between these two people who are literally chalk and cheese, but they save each other in more ways than one.
Yeah, it actually is. Because the motivation is always love, right? It's like she calls him a loser. She calls him like ye useless hai. She knows that it's like he's probably never going to get any better. But that is probably why she likes him also, because he's consistently in love with her, regardless of them being chalk and cheese. I think that unconditional, not wanting to change her and be in love with her still, knowing that she is relatively cold in her expressions as compared to Satya. I mean, there were a lot of these small things that make him the silver lining, in her life, the kind of life that she's been living in, where she's been running away from a lot of expectations that people have had from her, including her father. And here comes a man who really doesn't have any expectations and he just wants to be in her life with her. That I think that made her do whatever she did for him, only to realize that no matter whatever she calls him and she thinks of him, he's the man she wants to come back home to.
You must have had a ball at absolute riot filming this, Tahir. When you watch the film, you get the sense that, behind the scenes, BTS must have been outrageous. I mean, I know you can't say things like Mandovi River and Goa, this and that, because, now it's you've got to create a fictional town these days because you don't know who's going to complain about what and things like that. But it's so obvious that you guys were there. And, the fun of creating this, I would like to, go out on a limb here and say that maybe this was the most fun to film amongst all your last 3-4 projects, just by the look of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go as far as saying it was definitely the most fun part. There are parts that you play and then you take them back with you. You feel heavy the next morning because you played certain kinds of scenes. There was none of that. Like playing Satya was like therapy. It's what you did to like feel great about the day. The process of filming it, however, was a whole different ball game because we were coming straight out of a lockdown. The first lockdown, there were environmental challenges that the production was going through, and it wasn't always like, hey, we've packed up, so now let's all like go and hang out. So there were those environmental challenges, but the fact that we were all in Goa after a massive lockdown and just doing what we all love to do and coming together, and a lot of the prep for this film. In fact, the first time Taapsee and I ever met and spoke was on a Zoom call. I remember having several video chats and phone calls with Aakash as he was rewriting scripts. And so a lot of the prep just happened digitally. So finally to meet on set, I think for all of us, it was the first thing we were doing coming out of a lockdown. And so it was just this renewed sense of gratitude that we had for what we do. And that's what made it real fun.
So Aakash, I find it very interesting that small walk-on parts are people who are recognized. I mean, I grew up listening to a band called Parikrama, and you have Nitin Malik from Parikrama.
Oh, man.
It just took me back to my childhood. And what a band they are. I mean, they're still around after 100 years or something. Yes. And then there's Suresh Triveni, who's the director of Tumhari Sulu. And, back in the day, I used to voice ad films for him. And I was like, dude, is that Triveni? So how did those casting bits come about? I mean, are they mates of yours, or is it because of Atul and Tanuj from Ellipsis?
I mean, we were looking at a lot of casting options, and then we just started asking our friends, do you know anybody that looks like this? Do you know anybody that looks like this? And I was just going through Atul's Instagram one day, and I know Suresh as well, and he helped me a lot when I was prepping for the film. So I just asked Atul, do you think Suresh will do this? And Atul was like, wait for a phone call, and in a minute's time, Suresh said, whatever, yeah, sure, why not? And he came about, and again with Nitin as well. We have a common friend, and we asked for him, and he flew down from Delhi, came in for that one punch, and that one punch turned into a second punch, and it was just so cool. They were also excited to do their bit, be a part of something fun that we were creating, and in that the casting choices were made. Yeah.
So everybody's going to ask you this, Taapsee, whether you've seen Run Lola Run, but what excites me is that you're nothing like the original character. In fact, if Franka were to see you, she would say, who's this girl? Whoa, she's taken it to another level. But when did you watch it in 98 when it came out, or later? I mean, it's such a cult film. I even own a DVD.
No, I didn't. Actually, I saw it after I was offered the film. I obviously knew about it. I knew what was it about. But I didn't see it. I didn't see the full film, and it used to pop up when our reference. When we used to use that "Run Lola Run" as a phrase in our lives, right? It became such a cult thing. But I didn't see the film, strangely. So it was only after I was offered the film is when I asked for a link, and then I saw the film. So that's why probably the reason why I had no hangover of that character, and then it was totally Aakash. I mean, however he wanted me to play Savi, you have that, because there will be 100 other ways to play it, but then eventually that's what the director is there for, right? So I submit that way to let him mold his protagonist in the way that he would want, because eventually it's his medium, right? So it's his call.
You can turn around and say it's great writing that you have a father who, as an acknowledged gay relationship. But I have to give you credit for the way you played out those scenes. I mean, it's obvious that initially she has a problem with that, but the way she accepts it and, the character comes forth, is just brilliant acting, Taapsee. And the other thing which I noticed, which is very physical, I mean, it has nothing to do with anything emotional, is she's an athlete who has had a problem. And even when you were running with the tape on, you were running with a bit of a limp, which I thought was just detailing to the next level, man. So again, did you have to work on that? Did you work on that, or was it just instinctive?
It's what we and Aakash had discussed multiple times. So it was him. Even that scene of how I'm going to conceive the situation with Dad, we had a proper discussion, and it was Aakash who wanted me to play this way and not play the cliche way. So it was him who had to feed me with what is going on in my head for me to emote that out. So, and even the limp one, if you see the second run, is a little more because of the kind of bruises she ends up having, in the way. So it was not like ek hi run ko we can't just cut copy paste in the 3 runs. So that kind of was all that detailing, though, I'm glad that we noticed it. So it feels like the hard work was worth it. But doing it there was like, oh God, I can't believe I have to do the same stretch, same running in 3 different emotions. So that also was something that, Aakash had conceived, and we had proper discussions about it before we went to film it.
Super stuff. Now, I was trying to think of how to frame this question, but the only way I can describe it is in Hindi, because there's certain things in Devanagari and that can only be described in Hindi. That harami smile of yours, Tahir Raj Bhasin.
Haramix smile.
Yeah, haramix and harami smile. I mean, dude, it's not like what I saw in Ranjish. It's not like what I saw in Ye Kali Kali Aankhein. It said, there's no other way to describe it. It's a harami smile. So, did you have to work on that? I mean, like she had to consciously say that, I've got to keep my concentration on that so that it doesn't look as though it's Looop Lapeta out. So that smile.
Yeah. I definitely had to work on that, because in the reading of the script, when the line says porn star ka hero jab smile karne ki koshish karta hai to wo aisa lagta hai. What I was really worried about is that after this film releases, any picture I put up anywhere, the comments will always be porn star ka hero jab smile karne ki koshish karta hai. So the conscious effort was, how do I sort of keep a part of myself in Satya, but also make him so different that no one relates it to that. And also there are 3 different smiles, so how do you differentiate those? And I think it was also amazing writing, the fact that this guy's smile just says what kind of mood he's in, and the audience can sort of preempt what he's going to do based on how he's smiling. And yeah, lots of fun to work on and chalk out.
Aakash, where have you got these musicians from, man? I mean, this morning I just jumped into the shower, I heard Bekarar, and now suddenly the entire album is popped up on YouTube.
Yes,
I think Z Music companies put it on YouTube, and I started playing it, and it just sinks in, man. It just takes over you. And I'm looking through the credits, and I'm like, Siddhant, Margot. I recognize Sharvi because she had won the stage.
Yes.
But the largely unknown entities, and the Lord knows that in the music business we need, that kind of a refreshing. This is fantastic. Talk to me about the soundtrack.
I mean, the soundtrack, obviously, whether it's the background score or the music that's in the film, we have to obviously look back at the original again and how epic that was. So we had to obviously create something fresh.
Yeah.
These are people that I've done a lot of work with in advertising. These are my friends who've scored ads for me in the past, whether it's Maghu and Mayank, whether it's Rahul and Naraman. These are guys who have worked a lot with me. And, when this film was brought to me, I knew that I want to take the entire team that's always been with me on my journey. And it made sense for us to bring something fresh to the table as well. And the way they've understood the film and the nuances, whether it's making a bloody bhajan called Nirvana, which is a comedic sort of interpretation, whether it's the title track, Looop Lapeta, just the writing and the craft of that, or whether it's Tera Mera, all of these songs are detailed for an emotion. Bekarar was for us, we wanted to do like a 90s duet kind of a piece, and then Tera Mera was supposed to be a more modern sort of a love story song, and in between that, Looop Lapeta and Nirvana were just like really storytelling pieces for us. And I was in love when I heard all the renditions, and through the course of the film and the Post-production, these guys have just absolutely nailed it. They're really good.
Superb stuff, man. No, because I speak to guys who do advertising jingles, a lot of advertising work like Ram Sampath and Mikey McCleary. And I asked them this question, why don't you do mainstream cinema? And they're like, no, dude, there's too much interference, this, that. And, that's a whole bracket of musicians who are just supremely talented. So it's great that, filmmakers like you are able to convince them and give them the freedom for them to come and do mainstream cinema, because the mainstream cinema shouldn't be deprived of their talent. So just a great soundtrack. Amazing. Okay, I think I have time to squeeze in one last question. I'm doing a social cause thing. Tahir's answered this. He doesn't need to answer it. Taapsee, it's called Climate Warrior. I'm saying, are we segregating our dry and wet waste? Why is there so much air pollution in Delhi? Why are the beaches so dirty in Bombay that we go and clean it and the plastic comes back? Can we use cleaner sources of fuel? Why are we burning coal? Can we cycle more? What are the small things that you, the Pannus, Shagun, yourself do at home to save the planet? I'd like a social awareness message from you on that.
Couple of things. We are extremely against water wastage. So, even in a purifier, there is a way there where I can use the drinking water from one side, and whatever is discarded is actually used to take shower. Because that's got minerals that can be used for that. So I do that, and I have the dry and wet waste separate in my house. These two things that are the ones that we actually religiously follow at home.
Lovely. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait for it to officially release on the 4th and for everybody to get a load of this brilliant film. I'm often accused of tweeting and posting, saying vibrant things about Taapsee because I love her so much. But I will make sure that I will spread the love. TRB, great job. Aakash, great job. And, I can't wait to talk more about this film and champion it. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye. See you.
See you. Thanks.